one game away. Blow up. We're playing for something, man. We're playing for something. It's gotta mean something to you. It gotta mean something. Everything you got. Everything you got. Let's finish this.
Do it, fellas.
Let's go.
Let's do it, fellas.
Finish 2-3. 1, 2, 3. Finish.
I can't even think about all of the shit I did to fit in. Past hard to watch like a fucking scary movie. I'm always happy to meet somebody that never knew me. Change for the better, hope niggas are living through me. I put it all on the wax so the people can know the true me. Hard to remain sane when the people you love the most is what's causing the damn pain. Y'all beef by the same thing, we ain't playing the same game. It's all for my fam name. She the girl of your fucking dreams, but to me she a plain Jane. You dipper and ball man, I dump when them calls came. This that higher level thinking. I'm the type to jump the fuck off for the shit before it's sinking. Not here for no new shit, my game slight to boost it. Ain't I don't have to prove shit. Rockstar fight the fool shit. My movie, this the new script. I want a life with no bullshit, nigga. I know on these news clips. That's why I dap him and move quick. Won't be around when they move switch. Won't be around when they lose clips. Won't be around for they lose lips. Might be the reason they pull shit. Yeah.
Monday Night Football, we about to talk about it. How is everybody doing today, yo? How dope was the day? I'm very curious to know. I want to know how dope was the day. What did you do today? What did you do to make the day better? You know what I'm saying? Did we chase a dream today? Did we do something to position ourselves to be able to accomplish those dreams we out there setting for ourselves? I want to know. I do. I'm curious. Leave that in the comment section. But we got to talk about Monday Night Football. But before we talk about Monday Night Football, yo, I wrote some shout outs. Some shout outs. So, yo, I want to give a couple shout outs real quick. Some shout outs that'll probably not be heard no time soon. But that's all right because I'm still giving them bitches out. So, listen. I want to shout out Mookie Betts on a phenomenal baseball season, my man. The Dodgers let you down, all right? Even though you were a part of the 3 dudes that struck out to end the game, I don't blame you, my man. The Dodgers let you down this year. So shout out Mookie Betts. Shout out Frederick Freeman. Unbelievable last game of the season. Wish you could have been doing that throughout the whole series. I like you more because of your name, Frederick Freeman. Crazy that a white man has that name, but nonetheless, shout out Frederick. Have a great offseason, my man. We'll get him next year. Shout out once again to Brandy. Since the last time I had shouted her out in that previous video, I found out she had a medical issue or something like that. So now, yo, I hope Brandy is doing great, yo. I hope Brandy's doing better, yo. Shout out Brandy. Just a beautiful woman. Shout out Lamar Jackson's back because he been carrying these bum-ass Ravens on his shoulder since he got to the franchise, and I know his shit sore. So shout out Lamar Jackson's back. I wrote shout out Brandy once again. Oh, no. Shout out Bryce Harper, my guy. His birthday was either yesterday, the day before, or some shit like that. His birthday was at some point in time close to when I'm presenting. Shout out Bryce Harper. Let's go get this championship, my boy. Well, first we gotta get through this the Padres, but you know what I'm saying. Shout out my moms, obviously. And I got some fuck yous. Yo, so fuck the McDonald's that served me the other day. Matter of fact, fuck the McDonald's that served me tonight too, bro. That meal was awful. Fuck the Braves and fuck the Mets. Now, let's get into the show, motherfuckers. Yo, what a week of football, man. What a week of football. My team lost, so obviously not happy about that. But, you know, a lot of things to talk about. Where the fuck is my pen, yo? And as we do so very often on the show, I lost my pen. But that's all right. We're not focused on that. Because tonight, the Monday Night Football game, the Broncos... Were the Broncos at home? No, the Broncos... No, the Broncos were at home. But the Broncos at fucking home... No, the Broncos were not at home, bro. The Broncos were on the road against the Chargers. And the Chargers end up winning this game 19-16 in overtime. And boy, what a What a game. I'm just at the point. Well, first off, let's talk about let's go over the games of the week real quick. So week 6 games, the Commanders and the Bears played on Thursday Night Football. The Commanders went into Chicago and won that game 12-7. Tampa Bay went into Pittsburgh and lost 18-20. Minnesota, 4 wins in a row after they go into Miami and win 24-16. I heard Tua Tagovailoa could be playing the next game. San Francisco went on the road in Atlanta and got blasted 14-28. The Jets go on the road in Green Bay and upset Aaron Rodgers and the Packers 27-10. Cincinnati goes on the road and comes back to beat New Orleans 30-26. New England, I bet against them 2 weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row they blast the team 38-15 on the road in Cleveland. Baltimore goes to the Jets and they blow a game. They lose 20-24. The Jets pick up the 5th win of the season, I believe it is. Jacksonville goes to Indy, and 2 teams that couldn't score all year end up scoring. 27-34 win for Indy. Arizona went to Seattle. They lose 9-19, but the Arizona Cardinals did just trade for Robbie Anderson, so that should help. And they have D-Hop coming back. Carolina on the road in LA, they lose to the Rams 10-24. Buffalo on the road in KC, they win 24-20. In the Sunday night game, Dallas went on the road to take on Philly and they lose 17-26. Philly remaining undefeated. And like I said, the Broncos head to LA to take on the Chargers tonight and they lose 16-19. Let's talk about the Broncos. What the fuck is wrong with the Broncos? This looking like another blame somebody type of video. So let's talk about the Broncos. Let's talk about this Monday night game, actually. 2 teams, AFC West opponents, rivals coming into this game. And the game started off very good for the Broncos. Well, if you don't count the first play actually being a false start. Russell Wilson, 10 for 10 to start the game. One of the things that people have been talking about this season is the bad offensive play. Just the bad offense by the Broncos. Now, I'm going to dive into what I think is a problem with the Broncos offense completely in a second after I get through the game. But I want to get through the game for real quick. So I don't want to really say it was a back and forth game. I'll say it was a game where nobody really completed after Russell Wilson went 10 for 10 to start the game in the first quarter. He was 5 for 17 or something like that to finish the game for like 54 yards. So a terrible ending to the game or second half. And no different for Justin Herbert. Couldn't really complete passes down the field. Mike Williams had Surtain on him for the majority of the night, so he couldn't do much. Austin Eckler had a lot of action. The game ends up an interception in the second half by which was the first turnover of the game by Justin Herbert. He threw an interception in the second half, and the Broncos couldn't capitalize off of it, but I do think they ended up getting a field goal, and that was the best field position they had all night, and of course the offense couldn't do much with it, so they ended up getting a field goal. What brings the Broncos probably win this game with how their defense played, if not for the fact that when they get a stop, the Chargers punt the ball late in this game, and the Broncos muff a punt because a Broncos player decides to try to block. And I just don't understand. I got to go back and see the name of this dude because this play was just so fucking brainless. With all the bad penalties that went on throughout this game, especially on the Broncos side of the ball. I mean, number 27 on the defense got flagged like 4 or 5 times for pass interference. I didn't agree with 2 of the flags he got for that, but nonetheless, he was flagged like 4 times for pass interference. You had multiple calls that hurt this team all night. But this brain dead play might have been one of the worst plays I had saw all night. Where on a punt, a Broncos defender, a Broncos punter, like one of the dudes on the Broncos return team, runs back, and as the player for the Broncos who receiving the punt calls a fair catch, this Broncos player, for some fucking reason, decided to run clean in front of the defender who was standing in front of the dude about to receive the ball, and basically allowed the defender to push him into the Bronco player that was receiving it, which forced that dude to muff the catch, and it was recovered by a Charger, and that led to a field goal. Now, You really have to go see the play to understand what I'm saying. But just imagine somebody is about to catch the ball on a punt return, and a defender on the opposing team is standing clean in front of him. So the receiver who about to receive the punt calls a fair catch because the defender is standing right in front of him. Now imagine your team, a player from your team, the receiving team, comes and run clean in front of that defender for no fucking reason and try to block him, as if the fair catch was not called for. That leads to a fumble that leads to 3 points for the Chargers that ends up tying the game 16-16. A complete unnecessary error that does not have to happen, that did not need to happen, cost the Broncos this game, basically. Now, there's a lot of things that cost the Broncos this game. But when you look at a game that's so flawed, with so many different things going wrong, you just try to find a way to win throughout that nonsense. That fumble, that muff punt that leads to 3 points for the Chargers. And listen, you can even say that's not really what cost them the game, because they had multiple opportunities after that. Well, not really after that, but in overtime, and they still failed. But the muff punt is such a... Because you can look at all the penalties and things like that and say, oh, this didn't happen, this, blah, blah, blah. But when you look technically at everything throughout the game, mistakes happen and things like that. That muff punt, where the dude called a fair catch, but his own player run into him because of unnecessary block on a player when you already done called the fair catch, so the dude cannot tackle you and I can't progress. So it's no purpose of this dude running in and doing it. You really got to go see the play to look how just buffoonish the play is. But nonetheless, they go into overtime. The Broncos get the ball first. The Broncos do not move the ball, so they kick it to the Chargers. The Chargers don't do anything with it, so they give it right back to the Broncos. What the fuck happened in overtime that made the... Nonetheless, I can't even remember the other play. But the Chargers end up winning it with a field goal to win the game. The story of this game, because everybody's going to be talking about Russell Wilson, I do also want to point out Justin Herbert. Matter of fact, I want to start with Justin Herbert real quick, because I like Justin Herbert. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, or Patrick Mahomes, but I do think he's a great quarterback. I think he done took a step back now that he don't have as much talent around him like the Keenan Allen. And you see how harder it is to consistently do what he usually do without a receiver like Keenan Allen lining up every week. My thing with Justin Herbert, though, is because I also don't think this is a good coach team anymore. I do think that Brandon Staley is a bad. And I don't even think he a bad head coach. He kind of coach like he don't really give a fuck. He coach every game as if he gonna get fired at the end of the game anyways. So it's like he make decisions where it's like, bro, you really don't have to. Because, I mean, if we being honest, they passed up like, what, a field goal or two early in this game because they decided to go for it. I do think Brandon Staley at times outcoached himself. It's not even outcoaching. It's just not caring enough. Like, already have made up your mind that you're going for it and not weighing all the other things is just ridiculous to me at this point. And you would have thought after he got burnt by this a couple times last year that he would be better by it, but no. And I understand people saying I'm not going to let the outside influence my decisions. That's fine. I don't care about that. But my boy, you have to be looking at some of these decisions you making and just be critical of yourself. Not waiting for everybody else to tell you what you're doing wrong. Just being critical of yourself. And so I do think that the coaching is becoming a little bit of a problem with the Chargers. But the bigger issue with the Chargers that I see is this offense. And I continuously say that I think the biggest thing missing from this offense is they don't have a legitimate running back. And they was talking up Austin Eckler, how he got 25 touchdowns for running and like 25 receiving. Austin Eckler is a great dynamic running back out of the backfield. He is not a running back who I'm giving the ball to 25 plus times a game and asking him to go, actually be a difference maker on the ground. He'll have a good run here and there because he's a dynamic player. But he's not the type of running back that I think a Justin Herbert that you would want for a Justin Herbert. Because when you want him to melt clock away and be able to turn around and hand it to the running back because you know this running back is going to pick up yards, they don't have that. But you wish you did have that, and you don't need a high-end running back to go do that. It's great running backs who you ain't got to pay a fortune to, who can go pick up big yards and can be legitimate chain-moving running backs when you need them to be. I don't think Austin Eckler is that, so I think this offense gets stunted out a lot of times, especially when you're playing against a defense like the Broncos, who, I mean, this is a Super Bowl caliber defense that the Broncos have. They done held 5 or 6 opponents under 17 points in regulation this season. That's insane. To put that in perspective, they would be undefeated right now if they played against Matt Rule. I'm just telling you. But listen, to see what the Broncos defense is doing is clearly, like, sometimes, a offense and a defense playing bad, so you don't really, you blame. The defense is playing unbelievably great. So to me, when you go up against a defense like this, if you the Chargers, it shows when you cannot run the ball consistently well. But another problem, and I said this before, but I didn't really expound on it too much. I said that sometimes I feel like the Chargers overthrow Justin Herbert just to stack up his yards. Like the yards that he walk away from the game with are not as meaningful as sometimes they might look just because they won the game. And the only reason I say that is because I'm looking at the games, right? And I watch them do things and where it's like they don't really care if they pick up a first or anything like that. They just trying to pad Justin Herbert's stats, basically. Like what the Cowboys was doing in the past, or what Dak was doing in the past. The difference is things that if the Chargers made a move here or there throughout a game, or a difference in play calling throughout a game, it would give them a better chance to not just win the game, but win the game easier. But it feel like they trying to make Justin Herbert the best quarterback in the NFL unorganically, so they forcing the issue by overthrowing him. And because that keeps happening, I think that's why you see a lot of these games with the Chargers where Justin Herbert will walk away with 300 plus fucking yards, but they only won the game by like a touchdown, or they lost the game, or it was a close game that came all the way down to the wire. And one of the problems with the sports media is Justin Herbert will win a game like this. So at the end of the game, they'll point to and they'll just be like, oh, well, he won it. So, Justin Herbert had another great game and this and that. But they won't break down the entirety of the game and the multiple reads that Herbert is missing, the passes that he missed. Because they love to do it to Lamar. They love to do it to Pat Mahomes now for some reason. But I don't see anybody legitimately critically break down just the things that Justin Herbert could do better. I never see it. He the second coming of Jesus Christ, I hear all the time. But I never see people legitimately break down what's going on over there with the Chargers. This is a dude who, as good a thrower as I think he is, on a weekly basis, he is throwing more passes than he actually have to throw to win a game. Because the Chargers want this dude to be the face of the NFL, basically. They want to tell people we got the best quarterback. And what do it matter if you can't get to a playoffs or win a Super Bowl? So I don't think they actually are doing things strategically at times with the Chargers. And I understand Brandon Staley is a problem with some of his decision making and whatnot. But I also think it's this offensive play calling. Because at times it feels like we calling plays to make Justin Herbert's stats and things look well than we are to actually win a fucking game. And so that's one of my problems I done had with the Chargers. But I want to talk about the Broncos, because the Broncos offense is a problem. But is this one of those blame Russ situations? Like, is we gonna blame Mr. Unlimited? You know what I'm saying? We gonna blame Mr. Unlimited. And is the Broncos fans still riding? And I know Russ gonna do that in his interview tonight. Interview after the game. Broncos country, let's ride. Listen, I want to say this. In this video of blame somebody, I ain't blaming Russ. Obviously, Russ, yes, he can play better. I agree with all that. But the fact of the matter is, if you actually looking at this football team, this Broncos offense, For one, I can't even tell you how many times tonight I saw Russ just get blitzed and hit from the moment he hiked the ball. I'm talking about from the moment this man say hike and the ball touch his hand, a defender is already in the backfield sacking him. It was a crucial play in this game on third down where if they just give Russ like 2 seconds to make a decision. And listen, Russ' decision making was off tonight. It was some plays that he could have had. I say it all the time. I never seen a quarterback be willing to take more sacks than Russ. And unnecessary sacks at that. But here's the thing with the Broncos. And this is really the problem, that it's more than one problem. So let's say you got Russ's decision making. Let's say you got Russ not being the quarterback he used to be. Let's say you got Russ taking too many sacks. But then we can hop to, you got a terrible offensive line. And when I say terrible offensive line, I don't just mean you got one or two dudes that make this collectively. No. I'm talking about every last player on that offensive line at this moment is a liability. It feel like. You got a flag being called on this offense every week. It feel like every drive. So you constantly having to work against the sticks because you're getting pulled back every fucking time. You got receivers who, listen, I like Corey Sutton. I like Jerry Jeudy. I'm not finna sit here and tell you they've been the greatest, that they done helped situations. Attitudes could be a little bit better. Body language could be a little bit better. I understand they haven't been playing with Russ, but for a couple games, they still trying to work some things out. That could work both ways. But when you got Russell Wilson taking all the blame, I expect for my receivers to be a lot more supportive than they have been on the sideline with Russell Wilson. It's a lot. We got play calling issues. We got a bad head coach, in my opinion. We got a lot of things that's happening with this Broncos offense that's holding it back than just Russell Wilson playing bad. And I do think Russell Wilson can play better. I absolutely agree that Russell Wilson can play better. But you also want to know what I know? Russell Wilson ain't the only motherfucker on this team getting paid to be good and do a job. That's just not the case. You got offensive coordinators. You got specialty coaches. You got a head coach. You got offensive linemen. You got receivers. You got tight ends. You got running backs. Everybody else, it's people around Russell Wilson paid to do a job. Point blank, period. This is not a situation where somebody on that offense not named Russell Wilson is playing so unbelievably great that it's just Russ holding them back. That's not the case right now. I don't see nobody looking at the receiver saying, oh man, they just getting open left and right and Russ missing them. I'm not seeing that. So while everybody want to just blame Russell Wilson, Russell Wilson's fault, let's take a deeper look at things. Because like I said, he's not the only person paid to do a job. Nathaniel Hackett is just not a good head coach right now. It's just facts. Look at the play calling. Look at the game plans. Look at how he is managing things. I still can't get over the fact that 1 week he think a 64-yard field goal was exactly what our field goal kicker, even though he's never hit one of those, and we in Seattle, that's a good idea. But now, fast forward a couple weeks later, we in Denver for like a 15-yard field goal, and that's not an idea that I'm thinking of. Now I want to put the ball, you can't make this shit up, man. Nathaniel Hackett is not a good head coach. It's so many things that's wrong with this Denver offense right now and Denver team, aside from the defense. But everybody want to blame Russ. And I really think this come from a place of people hating on Russ, not liking this dude. I don't know how so many people can tell you about Russ's character who have not been around Russell Wilson. It's so crazy. I'm hearing people assassinate this motherfucker character left and right. I still don't understand how y'all motherfuckers is so in love with Future that you still have a problem with Russell Wilson marrying Sierra and having a great life with her, as if that's not something that happened in everyday life every single day in other people's around the world. I love Future too. I don't give a fuck that Russell Wilson is married to Sierra. That's not going to make me hate Russell Wilson and think he a cornball for raising another man's son when that happens every day in life. So, this hate that people have for Russell Wilson is very confusing. He fake because he too good of a person. What? Man, y'all really is around miserable people and miserable people yourselves to continuously have these type of dumbass thoughts on Russell Wilson, yo. Like, it's straight up hate at this point. But I'm here to do what the fucking media is not going to do. You see, the media don't like to, because the quarterback make the biggest amount of money, for some reason that means that they are the only ones who can have blame put on them, unless other people are so very glaringly bad. And even then it don't matter, because like I done said multiple times, Patrick Queen done been the worst linebacker in football since the day he stepped foot on the field. And he was a first pick in the draft, and I ain't seen his name be brought up one time when they break apart the Ravens. But you know who they gonna bring up every fucking time they talk about the Ravens? Lamar Jackson. And that's a problem. I hear people all say all the time, maybe they get too much credit, they don't get enough, and they get too much blame. Yeah, but let's break that down. Because there's actually a situation where you can give them credit, and actually they deserve all that credit and no blame. Those are actually real situations. Like, those happen. And then there's times where you should only be giving them blame, because that's real. Like, that happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, a quarterback being as great as he's been and actually like being a huge catalyst for winning, how can I be giving him too much blame, or too much praise, when he is him? That don't mean I can't blame somebody else for, give anybody else credit around for being just as big a part or being a big part. And that also ain't gonna stop me from calling out other motherfuckers who ain't playing good just because he ain't making what the quarterback make. Like, that's insane to me. That's why I'm here. Because it's so easy to blame Russell Wilson for every fucking thing. And that's crazy to me. I'm looking at an offensive line who can't defend nobody. Just letting dudes run through the line. Giving Russ and listen, I'm one of the things is just, and this is why I say the Broncos and the Russ spot offense, because it's just too many problems. Because I do think it's a problem that Russell Wilson he under fire too fast and too much. But it's also don't help when you have that problem. But you also have a problem because your quarterback hold on to the ball too damn long. And he find ways to extend sacks, basically. You got a play tonight where he extend the play, he get outside the pocket. He clearly can throw this ball away. You know what he decided to do? Take a sack. And I see this. Quarterbacks all have a flaw. Lamar Jackson, when a play breaks down for Lamar Jackson and he try to make a play, it'll probably lead to an interception. Him and Pat Mahomes do this thing where they try to save a play because they make so many great, spectacular plays. He and Pat Mahomes are willing to throw an interception because they make so many big-time plays. Whereas you got a dude like Russell Wilson, who when he extend a play and a play breakdown, he is probably going to take a sack. Because for some fucking reason, that's just what he does. I do not get it. Aaron Donald should probably have 10 less sacks than he do against Russell Wilson. Because Russell Wilson had opportunities to get rid of the ball before Aaron Donald actually got the sack. But Russell Wilson, for some odd reason, loves to run around until the defender is close enough to get the sack, and then he will take said sack. And then he don't even take the sack gracefully. So having both of those is your problem, an offensive line that can't protect and a quarterback who also can't protect himself. Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. I'm actually shocked Russell Wilson ain't got as many fumbles this year as I would expect somebody to have who's been hit as many times as Russell Wilson has been hit. So yeah, that's a huge problem with the team. I don't think the play calling is really that great. And this trying to get the ball out so quick because you have a terrible offensive line, you know we can change the play calling. Like, we can adapt the play calling to still make it so that Russell Wilson ain't just dinking and dunking the whole game, where he actually is being able to pick. You have talent on offense. Like, it's confusing to me that you were given this type of talent and you can't scheme up a way to make this talent useful. Like, that's just very confusing to me. That's why it's very hard for me to look at this Broncos offense and say, oh yeah, let me blame Russ and the receivers. The offensive minded head coach was brought over here for a reason. Russ ain't the only motherfucker getting paid. Nathaniel Hackett getting paid too. He was given a high position too. He was put in charge of a whole fucking team because of what they thought he could do. And he ain't coming through. So While I understand there's a lot of people out there who are going to want to blame Russell Wilson immediately for all the problems that's going wrong with the Broncos. And like I said, Russ can be better. And I'm pretty sure he will be better. I still got a lot of faith in Russ. I'm not turning my back on Russ. I really think play calling could help. A better scheme could help. Like, I really don't understand what I'm looking at when and listen, the Broncos got to figure out what they're going to do with this running game. They got to get that all figured out. It looked like Aaron Gordon, or Gordon is not going to be not Aaron Gordon, but it looked like Melvin Gordon not going to be a part of this offense for too much longer. I wonder if they punishing him for that viral picture. But either way, they basically moved him to the third string running back. Which, listen, at this point, Melvin Gordon can't really be mad when a head coach make a decision to not have him as a main guy when he fumbled the way he do. I don't give a damn if he done went 3 weeks in a row without fumbling. You just know that he can get that shit kick started up again because of the way this dude the way he done had a career of fumbling the ball. So that's on Melvin Gordon. I can't even be mad at Nathaniel Hackett for that. But to me, when I look at this Broncos, and another thing with this Broncos offense, I talked about how the Packers offense to me just look like a bad offense right now. Like, it don't really look like it's an offense that's holding itself back. It just don't look good to me. And then I look at Baltimore's offense, and I'm like, that's an offense that's clearly holding itself back because they just continuously shoot themselves in the foot. The Broncos look like a mix of both. They look like a team that you start off the drive, the first fucking play of the game, your offensive lineman get called for false start. Like 3 plays later in the drive, it's another false start. That's the textbook definition of shooting yourself in the foot. But then you got drives where it's like, oh my God, this Denver offense is the worst thing I've ever seen. They devoid of talent. They look terrible. It's Russ washed. I've never thought to myself as Russ washed. I'm not going to lie to you. I've never thought that one time while watching. I'm going to have to see Russ play like this for like 2 years or 3 years in a row before I actually believe Russ is washed. Because unlike stupid, I don't want to say stupid, unlike casual fans who just love to hate on motherfuckers and think that being quarterback and all these other NFL and sports jobs is easy, I understand being a quarterback is a very tough position. So it could be a year where you actually just have a bad year, a down year, because shit is absolutely hard. And you're being put in a new system, a new offense, new players around you, new city, moving your it's tough. It's like Josh Hader struggling to be when he first got to the Padres. Just had a child, just moved my family to a new city, have to get adjusted to a new city, new routine, new place to live. Like, that's going to take an effect on an athlete. As human beings, we have things happen to us in our everyday life that affect us on our actual jobs all the fucking time. All the fucking time. I cannot tell you how many people I done worked with and how many people I work with who make so many different type of ridiculous excuses for why they don't work good or why they can't work good today or why they just can't come to work, period. Meanwhile, we expect athletes to show up, because I was listening to somebody talk about this today on, I think it was Undisputed, where it was like, a teammate missing his own like brother's wedding or sister's wedding to be at practice. Like, I'll be damned if I'm close enough to somebody where I'm missing their wedding as an athlete. But people would tell that athlete if he have a bad game after missing, or she have a bad game after missing an important in an event like that as normal people, we look at it and we like, yo, we're definitely calling off for work to make somebody's wedding that we're very close to. Like, it's no ifs, ands, buts about it. But an athlete got to miss, like Caruso got to miss his sister's wedding to compete for a bubble, for a championship in the NBA. You see what I'm saying? The different type of standards and rules we put these athletes through that we expect from athletes. So it's hard for me to look at Russell Wilson and not understand all the different things he might have been going through throughout this season that he not going to talk about, because everybody going to say he making excuses. Like, we can say as normal people all the different things that we're going through, and normal people are going to be like, yeah, I get that, I understand that, because I go through that too. But because they're athletes making more money, they tell you the type of things that they going through also as human beings, and motherfuckers going to be like, oh, well, you make $1 million+ bro, so stop bitching and crying about it, bro. You see the difference? It's really a shame. the dehumanization of athletes, man. It's a very apologies for that, but it's a very ugly thing. It's a very, very ugly thing. But with that being said, I appreciate you for joining me on another episode of Kicking It with Saint. The next episode, we're going to break down more of the games that happened from week 6. That was a Monday night breakdown. Tell somebody you fuck with them. Tell somebody you love them. Saint out.
I got the moves like hot sauce. Lil' mama taking the top off. I'm laying down getting topped off. After this, she know she getting knocked off. I know she loving the money, so I keep on thumbing and thumbing. She say she horny when she taking shots, so I keep them coming and coming. Now I'm putting dick in her tummy. Scoop her up like I'm raking her something. You would think shawty red track, the way that she running and running. You getting dumber and dumber. You out here chasing the bone. After she finished from giving me dome, the Uber is taking her home. Tight.